Okay. I would like to talk again a little bit about this story that is it still the number one? It's the number 3 story now. The surveillance video that is evidence of an alarming militarization of your local police force. And your local police department is starting to go out of control. They are getting all this military weaponry from the Pentagon, but there's always strings attached. And so you're getting there, hey, I want to drive the tank this time. Really, the sheriff in Dallas County said they needed one of these tanks because they serve warrants. To who? Syria? I mean, when was the last time we needed that?
They go after drug rings and they go after cartels, and these people are heavily armed many times. I mean, I am more conflicted about this stuff than you guys are, maybe, but I understand these guys are going into these situations where they don't know what's on the other side of that door. And I can understand them wanting the best equipment to make sure that they're not outgunned. It does seem like they're overusing it, though, at times now, and that to me is a little bit
read that story. And I want to play the former colonel of the Marine Corps. This happened over the summer, and he was speaking out, I believe, in Maine at a city council meeting, and they had just gotten one of these militarized vehicles. And here's what he said:
"We don't need this. We really don't. I was a colonel. I'm a retired colonel in the Marine Corps. I saw a sign back there that said, we want more Mayberry and less Fallujah. And I spent a year in Fallujah. And you know what? When I first got there, I didn't have armored Humvees. And I traveled over 10,000 miles over there. And sometimes you got to deal with and go with what you have. And so that's part of the job, for one. The second thing is, when I was in Iraq, I was in charge. I was the Ministry of Defense coordinator. My job was to man, train, and equip the Iraqi army in Al-Anbar, Najaf, Karbala, and northern Babil provinces. And I can tell you right now, somebody had the great idea to get rid of the Iraqi army, so when we rebuilt it, we did everything we could to make it as strong as possible. And I'll tell you right now, Homeland Security would kick their butts in a week. What's happening here is we're building a domestic military because it's unlawful or unconstitutional to use American troops on American soil. So what we're doing is we're building a military. My best friend, who's a SWAT officer in Nashua, who came to Iraq with me to train the Iraqi police, sent me an email with a picture of him in the media on the streets of Watertown, Mass, wearing the exact same combat gear that we had in Iraq.
That's amazing.
So you couple that with what the president said when he was running, we're going to have a domestic security force just as well equipped as our military. Do you remember that when he said that during the campaign? Just as well equipped, just as well financed, a domestic security force.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
Okay, so this is what's happening. I mean, you can dismiss this all the time, but this is what's happening. They are assembling. This is the beginning of it. It's not the end. They're not people that are in our police force that are thinking, yes, I'm going to be part of this new military. But that's what's happening to us. It is the normalcy bias that none of us want to believe these things.
Everybody poo-poos these things because they see what happened at the end of the things that we warn of. All of those things that we warned of began somewhere else.
Right. They're the seeds.
Yeah, they started with a different situation. They started with minor infractions. That's exactly what's happening now.
And as we talk about this, Blaze just posted a news story of a woman in Florida who had a SWAT team go into her house and remove her from her house because they had a standoff with their neighbor. So they had a standoff with the neighbor next door. They made her move. They moved stuff off of her walls. They set up shop in her house. She had to leave her house because her neighbor did something wrong, and the SWAT team came in there to set up shop.
You don't have a right. That's quartering soldiers.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
Couldn't you say that's coordinating or quartering soldiers?
Sounds unconstitutional.
You don't have a right to go into my house and just set up shop. It's my house. It's my property. Get the hell off my land. Yeah. That is, I never thought we would...
It's been almost my favorite amendment to joke about.
I never thought we would ever have to worry. What is that? The Third Amendment? I never thought we had to worry about the Third Amendment because you'd never quarter soldiers. What the hell do you call that? Get out of your house. We're taking it.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you've done something wrong. They do have the right to come in and you know, do things. But when you live next to someone who did something wrong, that doesn't seem right. It is the third. Prohibits the forced quartering of soldiers during peacetime.
Which is that?
Is exactly what happened in Florida. Yeah, that's what that is.
We need to get somebody right to the Blaze, tell them to get a constitutional attorney and tell us why that is not.
I mean, they're not technically soldiers, I guess, right? That might be the technicality. I don't know. And they're not living there.
What is the spirit of that?
Right.
The government can't tell you we're putting people in your house.
Well, but if law enforcement can commandeer your home,
they're evacuating you for your safety.
Yeah, bullcrap.
Yeah, bullcrap. Bullcrap.
That's not.
It's my home.
That's not what they're doing.
It's my home.
They set up the their surveillance equipment and stuff in there, right?
Yeah, this is a quote from the woman. The cop goes, "You all need to leave. You can't be in your house." Really?
Okay.
I mean, maybe there's something I don't know about, but that does not seem.
Nope.
No
you don't
way.
do it.
Yeah, no
you
way.
don't do it. I'll volunteer my house. I'll help you, but you don't just commandeer my house. What is this? And by the way, this has nothing to do with the administration. So you know, that has nothing to do with the administration. That is your local police force that is doing that. Now, you want to continue to arm them with military weapons? Play the president's speech again. You want to arm them with more military weapons?
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
I'm telling you, warning. And what is this for? Play it down the road some, can we? What happens to our society when there is a global economic collapse? You know, I had a friend over, very good friend, watches and listens to me all the time. And he said, Glenn, am I hearing you right? Am I hearing you right that you're thinking that this collapse could happen? And I said, I think this collapse could happen this year. I haven't put a year on this, and I'm wrong on timing every time. But we are coming to a place in the next 2 years that the collapse is going to happen because you're already seeing the globe start to move out of the U.S. dollar, something that everybody said couldn't happen. When that really happens, right now they're doing it slowly and they're doing it quietly, but you can look for the stories. So all of this stuff is happening and it's happening quietly. And at the same time, we are putting in military-style vehicles and everything else into our communities. And we're like, well, we're getting it for free, so it's no big deal, and blah, blah, blah. Then you have somebody coming into their house and just taking their house. When you see the other video on the Blaze, some are saying the surveillance video evidence of the alarming militarization of local police. It is that. And if you watch those things and you see them, if you don't put two and two together and say, okay, what does this mean for the future? You're a fool. You are being irresponsible. Our founders have said, if you want to be free, you must be educated. That means know history. Look at what Scalia said. That means you got to know history. You have to know what man is capable of and what drives man. And the second thing is you have to be vigilant. This isn't being vigilant. For our God, for our Constitution, for our families. You better step to the plate.